If you're familiar with the work of the controversial Banksy, whose illegal works on buildings are now protected by councils, and whose stencils were bought by Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie for £1 million, but you have no idea who Blek Le Rat is, then you probably want to keep watching this. So by this time, everyone is familiar with the name of Banksy. From his graffiti all over the world, the spectacle he carried not long ago when one of his works destroyed itself just after being sold at auction, and mostly by his stamp on apparel and marketing products. But how many of you knew about the French graffiti artist Blek Le Rat? Fact is, I'm by far not the first one to point out the similarities of the works of these two. Blek's stencils started occupying the street walls of Paris in the 80s, well before Banksy, as a means to shorten the time needed to reproduce the piece and avoid getting caught by the police. This, by the way, didn't work for him, and he was arrested in 1991. However, as France is much more permissive with street painting than the UK, it is understandable that Blek would take this chance to reveal his true identity, an accommodated bourgeois from a fancy neighborhood in Paris named Xavier Pro. A once-upon-a-time architecture grad student, he was highly influenced by his Trotskyist like-minded professors, who would often speak about pure art and open a world of urban landscapes, politics, and artistic creation that Blek would come to connect in his works. Banksy has openly acknowledged Blek's influence, even stating, quote, "Every time I think I've painted something slightly original, I find out that Blek Le Rat has done it as well, only 20 years earlier." Initially, Blek Le Rat was reluctant to accuse Banksy of copying him, as often imitation is acknowledged as a sign of flattery and respect. Yet however, in the documentary Graffiti Wars, Blek's attitude changed drastically, even stating, quote, "When I see Banksy making a man with a child, or Banksy making rats, of course I see immediately where he takes the idea. I do feel angry. When you're an artist, you use your own techniques. It's difficult to find a technique and style in art, so when you have a style and you see someone else is taking it and reproducing it, you don't like that. I'm not sure about his integrity. Maybe he has to show his face now, and show what kind of guy he is." Banksy never responded to these accusations. However, one thing is true. Banksy enjoys a cult-like fame that Le Rat never enjoyed. On the article, "When graffiti becomes commercialized, who should pay for it?" these are just two of the comments that one could find. Quote, "Is this a joke? Le Rat? Some of Banksy's most famous works center around the rat. If this is Banksy ripping someone off, I think he'd pay tribute to him in several instances. I wouldn't be surprised if this article, was fabricated by the Brissolian himself." Banksy's work has a wit and very British sense of humor that Le Rat's singularity lacks. That's the main difference and the reason for Banksy's success, not in anyone's skill in painting a piece of cardboard. Was it Picasso or T.S. Eliot who said, "Good artists borrow, great artists steal"? It was Picasso, by the way, yet in any case, it is now Banksy the one that occupies the news whenever a new thought-provoking act, basically whatever Banksy does will be framed in this way by the media, catches the attention of the public. The stencil design and the political commentary pun is enough to satisfy those in search for an art that can be easily understood, and perhaps that's the real problem with Banksy. Remember when Steve Jobs passed away? How long did it take before your Facebook wall was full of illustrations and art erasing his name, his identity, turning him into an idle image? These tribute images turn into mere creative designs, perhaps catchy to the eye, but devoid of any deeper meaning. The problem with Banksy lies not in his political message, but in the real void behind the images that show a facade of activism. Take his image of the rioter throwing flowers, and replace it by one throwing a book. Social media would instantly explode with reproductions of this piece. Just think how popular this image would be among 15-year-olds who would feel rebellious by the mere act of wearing pins, t-shirts and bags with this image, claiming that culture is the powerful tool that they don't want us to have. Yet who are they? Not even they know. The image is so open that any meaning is diluted into nothingness. As I mentioned with Murakami, this is the endpoint that takes place when art is commodified to the logic of consumerism. Murakami, however, openly embraced this, yet Banksy has been quoted with saying, quote, "Commercial success is the mark of failure for a graffiti artist." This was stated in 2013, yet few years later we have this. We all remember that piece that semi-destroyed itself, thus with many experts claiming that this precisely immediately doubled its value, and the millions that his apparel, cups, t-shirts and print make every day. Yet, quoting Adorno, "The triumph of advertising in the culture industry is that consumers feel compelled to buy and use its products even though they see through them."